ओम ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुं परमानंदं वंदे स्वानंद विग्रहम् यस्य सन्निध्यमात्रेण चिदानंदायते तनुः। So hope you are spending little bit time, especially from 1000 nadis to 72 nadis, and from 72 nadis come 10 nadis. Nakul, first of all, you are joining late and putting the speakerphone on. Is it right, pa? Don't disturb, create any disturbance for others, okay? Understand minimum things, okay? I expect minimum things to be followed, okay? So in your setup you have, while joining, you can switch off both audio and video. So when class is on, when somebody joins late, so it becomes echo, okay? So you'll discover in the recording. Then what happened is, for somebody's mistake, my mood is gone. Again, recording, again, I have to spend time to edit, okay? So how much time I'll be wasting? Please imagine. So please look at all these things angle, okay? It's not like simply, or else if you take class and throw this thing, no problem, okay? Like, as a, there are people they take class, especially in between they will have coffee, tea, anybody can come in, anybody can go out, and they will say it is a time pass, okay? So we are not doing that. So please, a little bit be careful. It will be nice, okay? So, coming back, that from thousands of nadis, mainly 72 nadis were being highlighted. And of course, from 72 again came down to 10. From 10 to 3, 3 to 1. I am repeating so that it will enter in your system. And interestingly, as 10 nadis are important, so also 10 vayus. And even though 10 vayus are important, but we all know mainly 5 traditionally, culturally, especially when you do parishachana or when you do offer naivedyam to the Lord deity. That's why you might have seen pranaya sapanasat, because with the mudra, it will be shown. Finally, Brahmane Swaha. I hope you remember this, okay? So, culturally, from 10, people know only 5. But interestingly, from 5, so-called yoga people know only 3. So generally, when they know three, in fact, they know two. They don't know three also. Okay, sorry, I made a mistake. They know only two. So they call prana and apana. Whereas when a common person knows only one thing, that is called vayu, that is called prana vayu, nothing else. So from 10 to 2 to 2, 1. So that means in both way, all knows one, okay? Don't worry. Whether it's nadi or vayu. Interestingly, the most important aspect of this teaching is that this prana and apana, they have very good relationship, especially. In fact, all of them are related to each other. But this prana and apana, they have very good relationship. And because of which we are alive, or the jiva is in this body. In fact, as long as they fight with each other, it is exactly like wife and husband. So as long as wife and husband keep fighting, that long relationship continues. The day wife and husband stop fighting, that means what? Love is over, chapter is over. You understand? This is the truth. They should fight. But sometimes fighting goes too much. That is the problem, okay? So when they want to, each one of them wants to prove that I am right or I am better, there the problem starts. So other one bends down or other one suppresses. Whether it's man or woman makes no difference. It's a very psychological impact, okay? Same thing also with reference to prana and apana. I don't say who is, don't ask me who is your wife and who is husband, okay? Remember this. So when this prana and apana, as long as they keep fighting, because the job of the prana is to pull up, this is how it works, and apana job is to pull down. So up, down, it happens. So as long as they keep fighting, that long I am alive. But what happens if apana becomes stronger? Now what happens? Instead of going up fully and come down, going up and down, now slowly what happens? Now apana pulls down, then now little bit goes up, more down, little goes up, more down. Then in the process, my energy is out. You understand the concept? So also, other way, if the prana becomes up, now apana will be little less, again up, up, up. And this is how it works. In fact, the yoga is all about allowing the prana to be stronger so that apana functions. But along with the prana, apana also is elevated. That's why the lifestyle. For example, if you are elevating your prana and you want to have the food, whatever you want, will not work. Because when you want to have food the way you want, just example sake, I would like to say, or you want to have food after night 10 o'clock, whatever you want, just example sake, or whoever cooks, whatever gives, or fridge food, then what happens? Now, even though prana is up, now this will affect apana. Now, there will be two options for you. Either your system will not support or your prana will fall down. That's why the person becomes sick. And especially yogis, those who practice yoga, they are very careful with reference to food and lifestyle. For example sake, I would like to say, generally, those who practice yoga, especially pranayama, we tell them not to eat tamarind. So tamarind is not supposed to be taken by them. Just example sake, I am giving it. But in Tamil Nadu, without tamarind, there is no, Tamil Nadu, okay? So that's a tamarind, okay? Tam. So any house you go, full of tamarind, okay? Maybe that weather demands, that's another point. The climate demands, maybe that is another point. But what the truth is, when a person takes tamarind, whether you like it or not, your opana becomes active. So when opana becomes active, then automatically your prana cannot lift or uplift opana. So with this background, now let us look at a few verses so that it becomes easier. Last time we saw this. Now he says, verse number 36, Aksipto bhujadandena yathochallati kandukaha pranapana samakshiptaha tatha jivo natishthati. So he gives a beautiful example of a ball, rubber ball. So what we do, if you put that rubber ball on the ground, so what happens? So you just drop it. The moment you drop it, it keeps hitting ground, again come up, hit, come up. As it starts hitting and going up, down, only that much you look at. So also prana and apana. So that means they keep doing their job. So when they keep doing their job, and because they are doing their job, that's why we are alive. And our job is to allow them to do their job. That's why a yogi will not waste time in anything, especially where apana vayu to release takes long time. For example, I would say openly. For example, suppose if a person is having a lot of constipation. Now, we make sure that you have to take care of constipation first before doing stronger pranayam, rigorous pranayam. Like whether you take water or you take something so that, or you take this different type of fiber food to make sure you should not have constipation. Imagine with constipation, somebody does pranayama continuously. What will happen? It will be worse or not. So what will happen? You eat and you are inside the toilet, okay? It will not work. And somebody, the moment eats, always in toilet. That's another group, okay? The moment you eat, now I have to go to toilet. So both are not good. In short, the lifestyle has to be in such a way that it should support my prana in short. That's why I have to do that. Whatever will support my prana. If anything does not support my prana, it is better not to. That's why prana pana samakshita yatha tatha jiva na tisthati. So that means what? Look, this the jiva is what happens, always starts moving with this two. And jiva is never stable because keeps moving and it moves such a fast way. That is how it keeps. Now, next verse he says, beautiful verse, which is really nice, that प्राणापानवसेत् जीवः यदश्चोर्ध्वं च धावति वामदक्षिणमार्गेण चञ्चलत्वात् न दृश्यते. He says, look, this is the difference between Vedanta and Yoga Shastra. In Vedanta, we say very carefully that mana eva manusyanam karana bandha mokshaya. So there we highlight mainly that the mind is everything, being both cause of bondage and liberation. That's why in some places, in one place it has been said, mana eva manusyanam karana bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishayasaktaha mukteihi nirvishaya smutam iti. It's a beautiful verse. So mind being the cause of both bondage and liberation. So wherever mind is attached to the object, sense objects, that time it is bound. When mind is free from sense objects, makes no difference whether it's really object or person or situation, okay? So when the mind is free from that, not attached to that, that time it is a free person. So this is Vedanta standpoint. Whereas here is being highlighted, prana apana vasah jiva iti. So here jiva is under the control of prana and apana. This is the small difference you can see. And why and how? Of course, we'll be seeing few verses that will coordinate very nicely because it is connected to guna, we'll see. Not only that, in the process, because it is under the control of prana and apana, that's why it keeps moving urdham and adha. So it goes up, also it comes down. And it moves so fast. And how? It takes two paths. One is Vama Marga, other one is Dakshina Marga. One is left side, other one is right side. And how does it move? Chanchalatvat. Being so fast. Na drishyate. Jiva na drishyate. The jiva, individual being, is not visible. Not only it is not visible, also physically sometimes we don't understand who is this jiva, okay? And you yourself don't understand who you are. Does it happen or not? Like I remember, especially children, okay? Even if adult, but adult will be very interesting. Suppose the person is sleeping, you just wake them up. And suddenly person wakes up and sits and asks, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Philosophical statement, okay? But who am I? Where am I? It's not a philosophical statement, okay? There is some disillusion, okay? However, so here it says, not jiva here, especially therefore remains unseen. Who is unseen? The jiva, the individual. That's why if a person says, why jiva is not visible? Because it moves very fast. And that too, how it moves very fast? Being under the spell of prana and apana. And when a jiva is under the spell of both prana and apana, definitely that jiva cannot regulate prana and apana. That's why our whole process is, I have to regulate my prana and apana, not I have to be regulated by my prana and apana. This is the difference. So how it happens? Continuing. Rajubaddho yatha shvenaha स्वेनः गतोऽप्याकृष्यते पुनः गुणबद्धस्तथा जीवः प्राणापानेन कृष्यते. This is a beautiful way of bringing this concept. He says, look, here, when you say the jiva is bound by, entangled by, under the spell of prana and apana, how does it? So he gives one example. So example is like hawk, a bird who can fly very fast and very high. You can use the word seagull. Now what happens to them? Suppose it in a second it can really take off like anything, but its leg is tied down with a rope. What will happen? Suppose 200 meters or 100 meters of rope. Now that bird will go fast for 100 meters. After that, what will happen? Falls down. Because the bird is not free. Whatever effort bird may put, because the leg is tied up. And when the leg is tied down, definitely that bird cannot fly high. Only struggling, struggling, and struggling. And here the concept is that even though bird is putting effort to go high, what is pulling down? It is the rope that is pulling down. So also jiva, the individual. Even though individual wants to do many things, wants to fly high, but unfortunately, so there is a rope. So the rope is called prana apana. So prana and apana always pulls down. And this prana apana is supported by gunas. So if the prana apana becomes rope, the thread becomes guna. Is it clear? Because a few threads together will make the rope. And interestingly, how many gunas we have? So we have three gunas: sattva, raja, and tama. So these three gunas join together. Now that becomes prana apana rajju. That's why, based on your guna, your prana is functioning. Is it clear? If your guna is tamas, of course prana will be tamas, don't worry, very gross. If your guna is rajas predominant, you know better. And if it is sattva predominant, also you know better. So that's why what is to be done? Very nicely in Maitreyi Upanishad is being highlighted. Chittam eva bhi sansara tat prayatnena sodhayet yat chittam yat chittah tanmayah bhati guhyam etat sanatanam. Finally says, chittasya hi prasadena hanti karma subhasubham prasanatmatmani stitva sukham avyam asnute iti. Did you understand anything? Swamiji, only you are quoting something which has no value for us. Okay? Says, look, chittam eva hi samsara. So what you call as samsara, bondage, is nothing but your chitta, your memory, your mind. That's why what is to be done? He says, if this is the case, so what I need to do? I need to prayatnena tata tat chittam. What is to be done? Prayatnena sodhayat. May you put effort consciously to purify, to make it available for you. Because the memory, especially, is it available for you? The 1% of the mind, is memory available for you? I notice many times, many people I meet, they will not be able to recollect anything. But after sometimes when I leave, then they recollect and they call, oh, sorry, I could not recollect. Now I am able to recollect. And you also must have noticed, okay? You meet somebody, you don't recollect the person's name. Then after the person leaves you, you somehow manage the so. Then not only you remember the name, you remember his father's name, details, okay? How what you do? You start biting your tongue. Oh God, what is happening to me? Then finally you say, I think I am old. So you are old means what? You are not able to access your memory. You understand? Especially you are not able to access your memory whenever you want. But memory opens up by itself. So here he says very nicely, one need to spend time to purify the memory, purify the mind. Chittam shodhayat. So whole thing is nothing. When you say purification, it starts with, keeping in order whatever possible. It is like a library, huge library has been handed over to you. When a book library, huge book library has been handed over to you, now that is your living room, that is your bedroom, that is your puja room, that is your toilet, that is your playground, that is your everything. Now what is to be done? Can you ignore that library? Can you go away anywhere? So what is to be done? You have to first is maintain clean. You cannot dump. So cleaning has to be done, and such a huge library. And the worst part is, big area is in dark. You are not able to see, and you don't have courage to see either. So what you need to do in the beginning, you need to not only clean, start looking at what are the books are there. So whether to keep it or put it in aside. So you start rearranging the library. And when you start rearranging, you discover that you are comfortable with the library. As this library is an example, so also we have thoughts. How many thoughts we have, we do not know. That's why we don't think thought comes. And all the thoughts that comes because there is a pointer in us. What is the pointer? Remember this point very carefully. How the pointer comes? It's like how you store the data in your hard disk. Does the memory stored in your hard disk in one place? Never. It keeps storing in different parts. But there are pointers. And if the one pointer is missing, will you be able to access that data, that file? We'll say file is corrupted. You understand? That's why when you want to access some memory, you are not able to access. And interestingly, we said that is called subconscious mind. There are many things happens. Like, for example, this is what I always say, in a 2 GB of hard disk, just 2 GB, okay, not 2 TB, 2 GB of hard disk, I'm still old fellow, okay, 2 GB of hard disk, how much data can you save? You will say, okay, maximum 1.85 something. or 1.94 nowadays, because there should be some free space. Is it so? I can tell you, in 2 GB data of hard disk, we can store more than maybe 4 or 5 GB. It is possible, not that it is impossible. How? It's very simple. You first dump all the data, whatever data you want to dump, and delete it. Quick delete. Once you delete, everything keep deleting and again storing. Then after that, use special software to trace all your data back. How you will be able to do? Because there is a pointer. You understand? This is the point I would like to say. Through that pointer, you can access all the data. Hey, this is what I was doing long back, okay, not nowadays. So that's why I remember this example very well. So also in our previous lives, we had a lot of data. Forget previous life. In this life also, we had a lot of data where we are not able to access, but it's deleted. That is called subconscious mind. So this subconscious mind is not able to be accessed by you. But there are softwares, there are methods, you can, nothing wrong in it. But the point is what? You need to keep them in order. This is the point to be highlighted. And this keeping your mind in order is nothing but called chitta suddhi. That's why in order to keep my mind order, I also need to be in order physically. So if physically I am not in order, my rooms here and there, everything is scattered. People love in mess to be in mess, okay? Remember, it's not going to work. That's why when we practice yoga, first thing we learn, live with as less as possible. Live with as minimum as possible. And as you start growing, you will discover things will happen, and whatever is required, it comes, goes, so that you don't become a storehouse. Except if you ask me personally, books, okay? Because that is the sub. But in due course of time, that thought should go away. That is also another. Shastra Vasana is one of the dangerous Vasana, we say. However, we have crossed the time. I'm sorry. Okay. More of it we will see. Okay. Please. Om Punnamada Punnamidam Punnat Punnamudachyate Punnasya Punnamadhaya Punnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, all of you.